Welcome to, I guess this is episode 2 of designing this city map. Something that it's a good project to work on, I think. And just let me know if you guys like it, and if not, then we can just, I don't know, we'll finish this up and we move on to something else. This episode, right, first I want to start focusing on cliffs. Cliffs in this case, there's going to be a lot of areas within this map that will have a lot of cliffs, and I'm not sure how I want to tackle certain things. So first things first, the things I'm not sure about how to tackle is how the cliffs are supposed to look in the end. That's some experimentation that I want to work on and see if I can't get a little bit more defining traits and characteristics as part of that. So I have to do some research on that, and we'll be good with that. I hope the music volume is good for you. Here, let's give that a test. Yeah, I think that's fine. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this path right here. These paths we'll need to pull them out so we can borrow their points. So I want to pull all three. There we go. And I want to pull them up into that cliffs, and then I'm just going to go ahead and lock that. And so I want, first of all, on this path, I'm going to go back and I'm going to use my scissors tool. This is also shortcut C. And I'm going to just cut at that anchor right there, and then I want to cut, I think, let's try that again, I think right there. Alright, so what we've done, we can just delete the rest of that. And if I really want to, I can just hide that layer, see what I've got. Next is this path. This is going to be easy. I'm just going to break up all of that into separate layers, or separate steps. So I should have that one and that one. So I want to delete that path, and I think that should be it. Actually, I can just go ahead and delete that. So with these paths, I want to just go ahead and get rid of the fill. I'm going to change the outer edge to this nice light brown right there, and if we hide, we should see our path right there. Get 1, 2, okay, so I have one more section to break off using my scissors tool again. Just gonna break off that section right there, and I can also press shift while on scissors tool or control to select. So I'm going to select these two paths, control shift both, and then control J to join. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, control shift, and then control J. So I've got two beginnings of path. And the reason I did that is because, I mean, why do the same work twice? Excuse me. If I'm going to continue on and this pond is going to be adjacent and butting up against a cliff face, well, just make that shoreline part of the cliff face. I hope that makes sense. All right, now with the curvature tool, I want to outline a good top of the cliff face. And what I want to do is I want to try and do at least a little bit of a mirror of the shoreline there. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to make an illusion of how this cliff is going to essentially slope down. So without doing topography lines, it's going to be very difficult for you to create that illusion or that clear boundaries with that. So I'm going to go ahead and make that, press Alt, click it again, makes it a right angle, or it's not a curvature at that point. So we're just going to bring it out. I'm going to add this to bring that in line with that curve right there. And then I am just going to follow this around and make it a little more thin in some areas, and then widen it out in others, trying to convey that there's some sort of path or something. And then even creating a few interesting angles. So kind of sheer angles to make it look like a cliff. That's just a rough path. We're going to go ahead and fill that in with a very light brown, give it what we want, that look that we want. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here. So in my original drawing, I have these cliffs, just this cliff face just coming out, and this is going to be interesting because there's going to be buildings that are built underground in the cliff face, and those will be like your underground races that will be doing that kind of thing. So continuing with the lore, and then also the cliff is more of a representation of how like the more of like the waterfall is going to happen. It's more clear that that is a waterfall falling into that pond and creating that area. So let's go ahead and push out just a little bit and then come back in. I had press Alt. Give me some path here. Press Alt. I'm going to move that in the middle. The best way to create like a large circular curve is just create those sharp angle lines and then one point in the middle, or even 2 points in the middle. That would do just fine, and you'll get better at it. So again, I'm going to create some thin or even a thick, cliff right there, indicating that maybe there's some height that goes to it. I'll just connect it right there. Again, go ahead and fill that with a nice light color. And go back into our overview. Now, with the map that we got, it is going to include a smaller cliff close to the gates themselves. So again, with my curvature tool, I am going to just create this illusion of land that is building up and heightening. And every once in a while, just go ahead and give it a right angle, sharp angle. Now, I want to try to not interfere with that nice little drawing that I got there. So maybe give that guy kind of a, and maybe even that guy, push that out. And this one, when I do the curve back, I want to actually make it very thin at the beginning. I want to try and push this land upward with everything. Maybe even give that a bit of a right angle as well. Kind of show how the path becomes large. You can use this to indicate like steepness And it's just, again, it comes down to those little clues on the map. And I'll add these right here and then connect it. And I can move those points in. And those clues on the map are what is really going to get your curious players thinking about, okay, well, what about this? What about this? Right? And how does this supposed to work? How's that supposed to work? So with all of that going on, you're giving them something to explore. And that's one of the 3 pillars of gameplay, right? You've got combat, you've got exploration, you've got social role-playing. And there's that part of it is it's not always about exploring dungeons or exploring landscapes or something like that. Give your players something to explore. And a map is a great way to do that. And so you can put in a lot of hidden little gems inside of your map. And they're going to eat it up. They're going to love it. So you have this wonderful tool that is really underutilized at your disposal. So just keep that in mind. All right, well, let's go on with some more cliffs. So I'm just referring to my master incomplete copy right now. Looks like we've got all of that water. Looks like Meyer has a small cliff. Trafor and Sucre. So Meyer, in this case, so this is Caster, that's Meyer. Meyer was going to have a small cliff. I wanted to put it kind of like here. I'm going to make this really small. So zooming in is a really good way to get those paths. And sometimes the paths just kind of jump onto that line. Illustrator has this idea. It's like, no, you want to do it one way or the other. And it's very frustrating. So you gotta sometimes pull it out and then pull it back in to get those really fine details. Really just have a good time with it. Just go ahead and close it off. You can always move anything and everything you like manually. And later on, I can also demonstrate some techniques for using this, and then maybe your tablet or your, like, I have a Wacom that as a pen tool that can do really well. All right, next is Trafor, which is going to be right here. Don't worry, we'll get around to naming these. But I have the gate kind of set up on a cliff top. So we'll just go ahead and do this. One thing I actually wanted to talk about today is for all of you parents out there, I know that you don't always get as much time to work on the games as you like, and I get that. And family time is important. One of the main rules in my game is taking enough time for your family, and I do have majority of my players actually have children, and that's an important thing that I have to remember is first of all, a little background on me. I started playing in the year 2000, and this might make me old, but my first game was 2nd edition or AD&D. And then my second game was 3rd edition. So that kind of gives you an idea of like who I am, where I am, what I've done. And so there's a lot of history there. A lot of history. And we are just... Sorry, I'm just going to deliver... There you go. So what I'm doing is I'm just using the pencil tool to kind give me some additional lines. Anyway, back to my story. The reason I bring that up is because I've spent quite a lot of time single and running a game. And then the whole dynamic changed as soon as I became married and had children. And my wife, I love her to death, and she supports my hobby and my goals with what I want to do here. And I will say, playing with children, not necessarily in your game, but like while having children. I have a toddler at the moment, and that can be intimidating because they're going to be demanding of your time, and that's a good thing. Like you should never disregard family time for playing D&D. That is not okay. So with that in mind, you have to take into account people's needs. As an adult, I play the game very differently than I would when I was single. And then if you have people that have children or families that is playing within your group, and you might be younger, it's important to realize that their family comes first. And there's this idea, it's like, well, if they don't tell you that they're going to be late or something like that, family emergencies happen. I'm going to tell you right now. And you need to be understanding of that. And sometimes, a kid breaks their arm and goes to the hospital 2 minutes before the game's supposed to start. Or their wife might call them. Or their husband might call them. Doesn't matter. And they just need to leave. And you need to be understanding of that. Does it suck? Yeah, absolutely it sucks. But people are allowed to have lives. And so keep that in mind. Their devotion to the game isn't the same as yours. And playing with a family has really taught me that, because I used to not think that way, and I now see that I'm wrong. I was very wrong in that way of thinking. So, yeah, please don't do something like that. Please be understanding of how and when and why people are able to come to the game, because they want to be in your game. If they didn't want to be in your game, they wouldn't do it. So, anyway, that's enough on that. Next, one thing we want to do, let's see if there's any other things before we start getting into the buildings. Nope, I think we're good. So, let's start with just some templates. Alright, what I want to do is I want to create streets. The way you do that, let's get a new layer going first. Yeah, that looks good. Let's go ahead and lock that cliffs layer. This will be our buildings layer. So the way I'm going to do this is through just making a rough outline first, and then taking that further. So first I want to build a few storage houses. And this can be anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill that with a very light gray at the beginning. And I might color code these so that gray could mean like infrastructure, and then like red can mean whatever. We'll figure it out as we go. So one big thing is I wanted to kind of make a market area in the middle here, and I wanted to you know what? I think I forgot something, and that is my scale. I really need to establish kind of how big everything is, and so looks like I've made this one where 1 inch 1 centimeter is 1,000 feet. So that means approximately 1.5 inches is 4,000 feet. So I can do that math real quick. Let's make that one real fast. Let's go ahead and lock that one up for now. I'll just add this to the map layer and put it underneath here. All right. So I'm just going to do a quick lookup of inches to centimeters. 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. That's fine. I want 1, so 1 centimeter is going to be here, and then just give me that. That's fine. That's fine. I can live with that. So this one I want to be black. I want to put it. Doesn't matter where it goes, really. Okay. And select that. I'm going to press Alt. It's going to copy it. I'm just going to butt it up right against there. And I'm going to. There we go. Should probably make sure that those lines are good. Okay. Okay. Then I could just do a quick little. And then drop that down. Feet. Drop that in. Drop that up. Perfect. And then I'll just center and center. Okay. We'll work on that again. It's kind of what it looks like here. I want to make that thinner, but that's all right. I don't want to work on that right now. So that done. We'll lock that layer up again. Start working on this. This tells me that the width is pretty long. So I want to go ahead and make that a little shorter. I think I've just turned that into a line. Let's try that again. Tingle height. Just give me that. How about this? Give me a ratio. I want this to be a 1 to 0.25, so 1 and 1.25 ratio. And then I will just drop that down. Little trick here and there kind of gives me a better idea of how that goes. So I want these warehouse buildings to be right off the gate. Not quite in line with it. I want it to be right there. And using my Alt tool, I'm just gonna bring it in. And cities aren't necessarily completely uniform, so it's okay if you have non-uniformity. And one thing I like to do with my cities in particular is I take them and I make the outlines of the buildings first, and then I take the roads after that, kind of like that. And I let the buildings define the idea of the roads. So with these, I can't go any thinner. Those will be warehouse buildings. All right. Take that. Just go a little bit bigger. Kind of make this be a master warehouse building. I'm good with not quite that. There we go, just enough. And then we're going to make an office area right at the top. Then I'm going to select those two. I believe it's that one. There we go. I'm going to be using that tool a lot. I'm going to be using, it's called Unite. It's hard, it doesn't show up here on the recording, but you can unite shapes and all that kind of stuff. So there's the beginning of our logistics area. Now, I really wanted to put some interesting structures, so actually I think I might go with the polygon, and I want to have this be a 17-sided building. And there's a very specific reason I want it to be 17-sided, because that is the number of deities in a specific pantheon in my world. So I want to bring that down. I like the size of that. So this building is supposed to represent a merchant's guild. We're just going to bring it out here. But it's not just any, it's the most powerful merchant's guild in the city. And so this building, I want there to be like multiple entrances on it. I want there to be an entrance here right next to the gate system. I want there to be an entrance up here. I want to build an aerie for griffins and hippogriff riders, stuff like that. So this building is going to represent that. And I'm going to use some polygons, rounded rectangles such as that, to kind of represent what I want to do with this building. And again, you can make the building just as awesome or not as you like. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to what's that? Have exit here. There's going to be some underground representations as well that we're still going to figure out. And this building in and of itself, that looks pretty cool, but I want to add a few more things to it. So go ahead and give me a circle. It's going to be a big circle. So, and really, it's okay to just start big and then move down. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I want there to be almost like a tower offshoot coming off of this right there. I'm going to leave that because it's going to be coming up above the roof of this building. Alright. So, and that building in and of itself is going to be some offshoots into the underground, and we still haven't figured out what we're going to do with the underground, so just going to leave it right there, but I'm going to white purple for merging buildings. All right. And I don't really feel bad about covering up the map per se. I may have said differently earlier, but here is kind of my thought process on that. I want, since this is like a merchant control building, I want warehouses all along here. I'm just going to hit Alt again, and I want them to kind of match the grade of this. It's okay if I like really push up against that building. I want this to be uniform. I want this to represent like, hey, this section of the city really has a lot of infrastructure. It really has some uniformity that goes with it. But you also need to create paths. So I've got this long path that's following the these warehouses. And in fact, I'm just going to leave that one. I'm going to reposition this one just a little bit. Oh, that looks good. That looks really good. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. All right. Just give myself. In fact, I might not. I want to maybe create a fancy schmancy inn. I want to do that. I want to create this inn. Let's get rid of that. Give me 5. Alright. I want to create weird shapes. Things that aren't typical. So I want to create this in right here, and I want to create offshoots. What I want this inn to be is a representation of like, if you need to go talk with the Merchants Guild, this is where you go. This is the very fancy inn that you visit. I'm just going to go ahead and create an extension of that. Parallel line here. Right there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put a stable around the back. Just a small little happy little stable. Nice little receiving area. So there. Go ahead and join. I can just that. All right. So I need those 3 to go ahead and join. Those 3 and join. I'm just going to do a quick line on these, and then a quick line on these. That'll be evident what I'm doing. So I'm just creating a polygon out of these shapes, and it doesn't matter about that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and create that shape, and I want to, it's a hospitality, so I'm going to do that in a very, very bright red. I always like to zoom out kind of thing. Yeah, I like that. I like that building a lot. It's got a unique shape. It looks different from the air, from an overview kind of point, and it follows the road. I figure like this could be like a 3-story inn with levels, and each section of the inn has like 4 or 5 like master suites, and overlooking the city streets, and you know that's where they can wine and dine, the Merchants Guild area, and have their horses stored out back and stuff like that. It's fairly interesting concept, I think. All right, let's get into. I think I'm going to. It's the same brown as the cliffs. Let's not use that. Kind of a green color for residential. So I want to create a series of buildings that are more residential. In this case, maybe a kind of a townhouse. I mean, that's where the concept comes from, right? It's townhouses. So I want to create kind of a long, thin strip. Comes out from here. In fact, I might butt it up against the cliff there. And this can be people who work at that Merchant's Enclave. I'm going to push it up just a little bit. And then I'm going to create a series of smaller series of smaller shapes. The reason I want to do that is so you get some variety. You get like people actually live here. There's differences in building. All you're doing is you're creating some sort of variability that is discoverable. Like these are sections of people's houses that they've built onto the back of the building just to give themselves extra storage room, extra bits and bobs, things that kind of make each and every section of the city unique in its own way. And then what we can do, we can take all of that and we just use that same Unite tool again to create. It looks like a sawtooth, but on the grand scheme of things, it's a very detailed building. Kind of like that. Then I want to create a restaurant area, again, hospitality. Almost adjacent to this inn. Be kind of a string of restaurants. Again, I'm going to use that same technique of bulging out that area just a little bit. Right there's perfect. I want there to be a very nice defined pathway that comes out right there. So let's go ahead and just gonna use those as flat areas. Kind of like the idea of giving them some recess. This to almost come out like that. Push out into the street just a little bit, but not have like overly defined features. I can just see this being like a row of family-owned shops. I really like this area right here. Creates this courtyard kind of looking area. Again, I'm just gonna go ahead and use the Unite tool to unite that building into that super unique look. So with that, I want to keep this row right here. I want that to be kind of a grand entrance. So let's tour, but that entrance can actually be just for servants. So let's just go ahead and throw up a small warehouse, like logistics area, storehouse for the restaurants and inn right there. Also kind of hides that residential area just a little bit. So they can doctor up this warehouse area just fine, so they can look out and see not people just living out their daily lives. They're beneath that, or that's beneath them. They're more important than that. Right. So these warehouses up here I want to extend into another row. Just do that with the whole row. Create enough of a road between them. And one more. Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that. Alright, so adding more building, more life to the city itself. And right now we are doing a lot of warehousing stuff. So I like to think of the gate complex as like a central hub for logistics. This is where people come to move things. And so with that in mind, of course, it makes sense to build some sort of infrastructure straight around it. So I'm just going to keep going with this theme again, and then infrastructure requires security. So we're going to build a few guard posts. So the guard post, I want there to be almost on the corner of those intersections. So what I'm going to do actually is I am a perfectionist sometimes. I'm going to recreate this right here. I want there to be 8 sides. Go ahead and just that, and then I'm going to just recreate this. Center it right there, and I'm going to put up some guard posts right on those corners there. All right, let's go ahead and back into the ellipse tool. Okay. Like that. .05 I think is what I want. So I'm just gonna go ahead and manually change these. All right, looks a little weird, but I like it. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to assign it the guard color, and then I'm going to copy it. Put it right there on those intersections. So the idea is that each and every one of these posts, that polygon up there, yeah, missed that totally. Again, sometimes the guides do you well, and sometimes they really don't. So the plan with these is I want to try and do several things. This map is going to take a long time. Let's just be honest. I think, you know, just based off of the amount of progress that we're getting here, 10 episodes at the very least. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's a big map, and I'm excited to see what can come from it. However, it can be easily overwhelming when you say 10 episodes, and I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I kind of like the size and shape of that building. Let's go ahead and let's first straighten it out. My height, I'll bring that down. Let's go ahead and see what just deleting that will do. That is that. Okay, so make it thinner a little bit, and then 0.9. 0.09. I think that'll work a lot better. Yeah. All right, that's 0.075. Oh, I like that little stout little thing. Squatting just a little bit. Kind of like that. So give me that, and kind of give me that. But I want it to be pointing inwards. Just a little bit. All right. And then take this guy. That's annoying. Where's my rectangle? Here. Bring that up to the top. Make it easier for me. So I'm just going to copy this guy over. I want there to be there to be that. I plan on doing some of this on a live stream. What do you guys think? Maybe that will be a little better. My time is limited, obviously. I spoke earlier about having a family, and for me, family time is super, super important. Probably the most important thing for me. And this, I love doing this. This helps me relax, but to be honest, I would rather go to the park with my kid than do this. Maybe that's just me being a newer dad, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It changes your life dynamics and priorities a lot, though. And if you're not ready for that, I don't do it. You know, there's quite a bit of responsibility there. So if you're not ready for it, don't do it. That's all I have to say. Anyway, so we've got these little bulging rectangles here. They're not perfect, and I think I kind of like that, and that there's a difference between each and every one of them. It signifies that there's like things, like different architects kind of pushed into it. And so I want to create another couple of smaller residential like that. I want to put that one there, and I want to put this one here. There we go. I want to kind of fill that. I want this to be a thoroughfare street. And so if we can do that, I think butting that up against the gate probably would be a best option. Then I want there to be kind of a almost alleyway kind of look to it. It's like, hey, you don't belong here kind of deal. Put that right there. Like that. These back entrances serve exactly what you want them to. You can have some fun with it too. Like this one, again, using that Unite tool to create the look of the overall building. These, I imagine these are just rows of houses, one connected to another, connected to another. The population density has exploded, and people are just trying to live anywhere they can, really. So let's just put a few more, almost like they're filling up this area to the point where it's just crowding in the street. Little backyard areas. Because I've got to have some places for their families to be. Alright, go ahead and use that Unite tool again. There we go. And you'll get some interesting shapes, and you know, you'll find out that you put something in that has no reason or actual purpose of being there. And this area, I imagine, is quite nice. It's a more affluent area, and we can even put in a nice little water feature right here. So let's do that. I want to put in. Let's just get rid of that line. I want to grab this blue area. Make this almost like a square, just a gathering area. Don't worry, there's other things like there's religious institutions, military barracks. Again, there's the entire underground area that needs to be represented. But again, putting small things in like that, like you can barely see that square, but when you look really close, it's going to be something that they can discover. Yeah, let's do that right there. And they can go ahead and look. And again, it goes back to that idea of discovery. Like, what are you looking for within this particular map? And it's like, okay, well, I can start identifying things, right? When I print this out, I can identify that this is the Merchant's Enclave and stuff like that. And this again is a pretty large map, and because I'm doing it in Illustrator, I can make this as large or as small as I like. I can shrink this down into nothing, or I can blow it out into huge proportions, and I think that's pretty cool. So that's one particular reason I do like working in Illustrator. This map right here is something that I designed a long time ago. It took quite a long time, and bringing it up in Illustrator is actually quite taxing on my computer, but I'm able to take out certain sections of the map itself and expand on it without any issues. So I do like that portion of it for sure. And I do like the fact that I can organize everything, and I don't really have to worry about pixels. So yeah, that's just me. And you can create subgroupings and stuff like that. So it's easy to work with. But I think that's all the time I have to work on this today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And if you really do think that I should continue with this series, just go ahead and leave a like, comment, let me know what you think. Good or bad, doesn't matter to me. I take criticism pretty well, so if you think that I have things to improve on, just let me know. Again, this is just a crude representation of things. I'm going to be doing some texture searching to really start to flesh out the basis of this map, and including roads and buildings and roofs and cliffs and water and stuff like that. So this is, again, just a crude representation. This is far from the finished product. Again, 10 more episodes. Pretty clear on that one. So I guess we'll find out how and when we do that. Until then, have a good night, and we'll see you next time.